Just got back from Across the Spider-Verse, and I don't know what to think. Part of me enjoyed what I saw, part of me enjoyed and liked certain things, but part of me also really hated a lot about it. It suffers nightmarishly because it is a part one. And I say it suffers because it's not executed very well. It's executed rather messily. They very obviously just made like a 5-hour movie and then just snipped it directly in the middle. And it's painful. It's not like satisfying like Lord of the Rings. It's not satisfying like Infinity War. It's not even satisfying like Venom. Like, Venom 2018 was mid and boring. But, like, when it teased Let There Be Carnage, you felt like something. Like, that was a cool ending, this movie's cool on its own, and hey, there's Carnage. You know, something like that. This movie just goes, we're building up. Here's some cool character moments. Here's a billion neat cameos, and then credits. And all it does is tease the title of the next film, which if that gets delayed, that's going to be a huge problem now. I feel like they needed to more officially market it as a part one, because originally, the comparisons to Infinity War are just flying off the shelf at this point, because much like Infinity War, it teased itself as a part one initially, but then like any media company realizes you can't advertise something as part of something or it's going to drastically hurt the sales. So they took away that part of the title and just made it Across the Spider-Verse. And, yeah, I've already seen a few reviews of people who are very mad about it, such as, Shadiversity.
Screw this film. Screw it to the moon. I can't believe what they just pulled here. Like, F this film to the moon, you deceptive, scummy bait and switch asshats.
I love you, Shad, but calm down. It feels like there's a lot of wasted time. There's a lot of characters not utilized properly and not treated with the respect they deserve. Because I really wanted to like this movie, like 10 out of 10, 15 out of 10 across the board, you know? I wanted to, but it feels like a cash grab that they didn't put as much passion and thought into as they did with Into the Spider-Verse, which is unfortunate because I really, 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 really wanted to like this movie. It's very poorly structured. They didn't think it through at all. They didn't want to make it like a satisfying part one. They wanted to make it a blue balling part one. Like, your Alucard from Hellsing Ultimate Abridged, you are positively throbbing, and then it just cuts off. You don't get to feel any satisfaction, you don't get to feel any payoff, nothing. Nothing. And some people out there aren't letting that hit their review very hard. I am. This movie is also a part one. This is satisfying, though. You get to the end and you're excited. You're desperate to see the next one. This film cuts to credits. Across the Spider-Verse cuts to credits, and you feel cheated. They play way too fast and loose with the multiverse stuff, and there's only like 2 or 3 ways that I can see the plot going where it doesn't bite them in the ass. There's a couple retcons, which stink to high heaven of, we didn't know Into the Spider-Verse was going to make money, so we weren't exactly preparing this script ahead of time. That's what those retcons stink of, to me, personally.
Spoil anything, Tom.
First retcon is that Miles Morales was bit by a spider that wasn't from his universe. The reason that, Miles Morales, the spider that bit him, has the number 42 on it is because it's from Earth 42, apparently. At first, I was like, oh my god, the spider's from another dimension. That makes sense why in the first movie when he picked it up, it bugged out. He wasn't, like, hallucinating because he just got the powers. He wasn't, like, freaking out and spazzing out because there was a battle, like, 10 feet away from him in the background. No. It's from another dimension. That's why it bugged out. Spider bugged out. LOL. But then they find it in resin. later in the movie. They find the corpse in resin later in the movie. Miles Morales ends the movie trapped in an alternate universe without any protective gear, so he's deteriorating. He's in trouble. You mean to tell me, Sony, if I click on one of their bracelets, if I go to Earth 42 right now and spin his neck like a dreidel, drop him, he's dead on the floor, you're telling me his body is going to stop deteriorating? Is that the rule we're setting here? If we go to the universe with zombie Spider-Man and send him to other universes, will he not deteriorate? And this is a valid question, because imagery matters. Imagery mattered a lot in Into the Spider-Verse. You can't put immense emphasis on imagery and then just X out of that for the next one. That's not how any of this works. Canon matters, apparently. It's like multiversal fate. I know it's a dumb comparison, because I know people like to pretend that the MCU and Sony should be discernible from one another. They shouldn't be connected. Too bad that's not a luxury you get. You don't get to do the fan service and the, like, teases and the crossovers and then go, but actually we're separate canons. You don't get to do that. You don't get to do that. You can't have your cake and eat it too. The movie itself says you cannot have your cake and eat it too. So, sorry, Sony, you can't have your cake and eat it too. Because the first movie to break this rule was Doctor Strange 2, when it was like, oh, if you're chilling on another Earth for more than, like, 2 hours, you cause a incursion, that's the word. You cause an incursion and kill everybody. Okay, so the Morbius universe should be dead, which, good for Morbius. Put him out of his misery. Oh, but that's fine, because it's the Sonyverse. They don't operate on the same rules. That's why the spell from No Way Home was actually okay to send Adrian Toomes there. If you interact with another universe, you cannot prevent a canon event. And it's giving me, if you watched What If Episode 4 in the MCU introduces the concept of fixed points in time. Stuff that cannot change lest you burn down your universe. Spider-Verse literally introduces that under the title of canon events. When you're there with the little bracelet that the spider people have, and the bracelet is a total Deus Ex Machina thing pulled out of their butts, so that way you can wear it in another universe and not gradually deteriorate. That's the gist of it, right? And while you're there, apparently this thing can scan for canon events, and the people at headquarters will be like, hey, a canon event's going on nearby, you steer clear. Because apparently, if you mess around with it, you die. Not you die. The entire universe dies. Which is very poorly explained and poorly defined, and there's only one example of it going wrong, and it really worries me. Because that, as well as the rules and the world building of basically the entire first movie, are kind of tossed out with the garbage. In the interest of, like, I don't know, making it, complicating it? I don't know. It's one of those things where I'm just like, I don't know. I don't know how to feel about it. I'm gonna have to wait. I can't even, I'm in the same camp as Shadiversity. I don't know how to rate it, because I don't have a complete story. I don't know if their rules are gonna stick. As bad as Doctor Strange 2 was, the dialogue in that was bad because they said something and then immediately contradicted it. In Spider-Verse, they're retconning and changing a bunch of things and saying a bunch of, like, dangerously precise statements. And because of Part 3, because of how, like, messily they wrote it, and I'm sorry, it's messy to write a 6-hour movie, edit it to get rid of unnecessary scenes, and then just cut it in half, which is what they clearly did. It's really, really messy to do that. Third movie could totally wipe this out. The third movie could totally fix all these problems, and I'm just deep-throating my foot right now, for all I know. But I don't even know how I would go about rating it, because in order for me to rate a movie proper, I would need a 3-act structure, and it doesn't have a 3-act structure because this movie doesn't have an ending. The to be continued isn't even really that satisfying because you don't get to, like, a shocking reveal, so to speak. I mean, there is a shocking reveal. You go to Earth 42, where Miles Morales' spider that bit him came from, and the twist is, oh my god, this world is Mad Max because there's no Spider-Man because the spider got taken from it, and now Miles is the Spider-Man of another universe that shouldn't exist. He is Schrodinger's Spider-Man because he exists, yet he should not exist, or something like that. They're very obviously building up to the point where he is, like, the exception to the rule. Like, he can sort of stealth into other universes and break canon events without any ramifications, but it's very messy, because this this movie reeks of my least favorite comic book trope. Because people say, oh, the Spider-Verse movies are so much better than the comic. And when Into the Spider-Verse was the only Spider-Man movie Spider-Verse related, I agreed. The first Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse movie is the best piece of Spider-Man media right now. It's better than the second one. I'm personally in the camp that it's probably going to be better than the third one, too. I don't know how to feel, and I am very worried for the future. Because, again, bouncing back to what I had started to say, this movie very much suffers from the we don't want to adapt the comic proper for whatever reason to any extent, so we're going to reinvent the story and make our own completely original thing with it. That is not something I advocate. That is not something I recommend. Is the original comic perfect? No. Is the original comic great, and is there good stuff you can take from it? Yes. And they're just, other than the title, they're pretty much ignoring it. And that kind of terrifies me, because I'm like, oh, I have seen this before. I have seen this in the MCU, and it does not go good. The Spot is cool in this movie, because he has the polka dot man effect. The part where whoever wrote him has him lean into his comic book form, where he is like a gaggy, memey joke, but then they give him, like, progression as a character to the point where by the end of the film, he is a believable badass. And that happens because he was created, in this version of him, he was created by the Collider from the first movie. And he goes across the multiverse, absorbing colliders, until he's strong enough to come back and basically, like, default dance on Miles. Because in their first fight, he gets humiliated and offended because Miles calls him villain of the week, and he goes, I know you did not just call me villain of the week. BRB, I'ma go get overpowered. I detest how they wrote Scarlet Spider. I adore everything they did with Spider-Punk. There's a lot of good stuff here, but there's a lot of iffy stuff here. It's very much doing the Doctor Strange 2 thing, where I hear a character say a very precise, very detailed, rule-oriented piece of dialogue, and I go, ooh! I get the feeling y'all aren't gonna stick with that. Metaphorically, I'm sweating right now, because there's 1,000,001 ways this could go decently, there's 1,000,001 ways that this could turn into peak, and then there's 1,000,001 ways where this could go really, 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 really bad. And I don't... That Halo 2 ending, though, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. For those of you who don't know, Halo 2, Gravemind and Cortana talking about something. They, like, build up to something big. And then, Master Chief says, like...
Sir, finishing this fight.
the swing, just like I told.